Make sure you always have these books on hand, folks. Cooking Around the World with Chef Des and The Best in Your Kitchen. And they're also available on my website, chefdes.com, along with Chef Des Cooks with BC Eggs, and also on Amazon worldwide. Let's get in on this. Let's preheat our ovens right now. 350. We're going to make the muesli from scratch. Grab a mixing bowl. 2/3 cup large flake oats, also known as rolled oats. 1/3 of a cup of your regular brand cereal flakes. 1/3 of a cup slivered almonds. Okay, so these are slivered almonds. Some people will get the sliced almonds, which are really thin. You can use that, but you really have to be careful that they don't burn because they are so thin. This gives it a nicer texture, I think. And then 1/3 of a cup of sweetened shredded coconut. This next ingredient, 3 tablespoons of wheat germ. Hey, where do I find this? Usually it's in the cereal aisle. You'll find it there with the natural brands, stuff like that. Maybe other stores are different. Maybe you have to go down the health food section to find it, wheat germ, but it's a great ingredient. 1 tablespoon of sesame seeds, 1 tablespoon of ground flax seed, ground cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Stir that all together. It's just the dry ingredients. And once you make this muesli and it crisps up, you can keep it. You can do a big batch of it. You can keep it like in a container in your cereal cupboard. It's great to have on hand. Put it on top of ice cream, put it on top of yogurt if you want to jazz up your breakfast in the morning. You can eat it as cereal. Put it in a bowl, pour some milk over it, have it with fruit. That's just the dry part of it. Let's go on to our next 2 ingredients. 3 tablespoons of canola oil, any kind of sort of non-flavored oil, canola oil, vegetable oil, grapeseed oil. To that, we're gonna add 1.5 tablespoons of liquid honey. So let's pour our liquid honey in there. And that honey plays a very important role in not only providing some sweetness to the muesli, but also helping with the caramelization of it in the oven to help it go a little bit brown and toasty. Just take a little whisk and combine that with the oil. And the oil will help to keep the muesli from sticking to the pan. So it's a perfect opportunity to blend those 2 together. Just drizzle it over. Stir that all together. Get a baking sheet standing by as well. You just need a small baking sheet, nothing too large. All right, give it a thorough mix. You really want that oil and that liquid honey to be dispersed. Spread that muesli evenly.
Do you put parchment paper under it or no?
Nope, you don't need to. No, not with the oil that's in there. Good question, thank you. You can, it's not going to hurt anything, but it shouldn't stick with that oil. If you did the honey without the oil, then yes, I would highly recommend the parchment paper because it will stick. Just spread it out evenly so it can brown nice and even in the oven. Get it right to the corners, the edges. So let's take this. My oven is preheated at 350. I'm gonna pop it in there. I'll set a timer for 5 minutes and then we'll have a look at it and then we're gonna adjust accordingly. Make sure this muesli is perfect. Grab like some kind of flipper, you know, burger flipper, pancake flipper, egg flipper, and let's have a look at this at 350 in 5 minutes. You'll see the edges a little bit are going a little bit brown, nothing extreme. Wherever there's a gap, it's a little bit more brown, but it's not done. You want the whole thing to be a little bit golden, and it may look like that in the camera screen, but it's not where we want it. So we're just going to move this around. I really want you to get in the edges of the pan, bring it all together, and then redistribute all the way through that pan. So that's what I'm doing, just taking that flipper and getting it completely in the center, flipping it over a little bit, and then redistributing so we have a nice flat layer. Put it back in there for like 3 minutes. And that way we can have a look at it again, redistribute. Let's put that in there again. Okay, let's have a look here. Yeah, we're looking good. Okay, see how it's just a little bit more golden all over, right? I mean, maybe I could go another 2 minutes. It all depends on how brown you want it, right? How much caramelization you want on that pan. But see how easy all that lifts off because of that oil in there. And you may find we're not judging it for texture right now. We're not judging it for crispiness because it's not going to get crispy until it sits on that pan and cools down. So remember that we're just judging it based on visual, the brownness, that's it. I'm gonna put mine in for another 2. I might be pushing it. Let's see what happens. Yeah, I'm gonna take it out now. One more time before I let it sit, I'm just going to redistribute on the pan, bring everything together, and then make sure it's a nice even layer when I let it sit. And you'll find, you can feel the texture of it as you're stirring it right now. It's not crispy. It feels almost like it's a bit soggy, but again, it just needs to crisp up. So I'm going to now spread a nice even layer on this hot pan and just let it sit here at room temperature. And trust me, it'll crisp up really, really nice and add Get a little mixing bowl or cereal bowl, but I don't know if you can hear this, but it is now crispy from it sitting there. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer this muesli from the tray into a bowl. And hey, for breakfast in the morning, you want to have some of that muesli with some milk as your cereal, go for it. You will love it. Before you seal it in a container, make sure it's completely at room temperature, folks. We don't need any condensation there. If you make sure it's completely at room temperature, I would say easily it'll last a month in your cereal cupboard in an airtight container. But again, it must be room temperature first before you start, locking it away in a container and have